Did anything happen last night? Um, because I was just, going to bed or whatever, and then my phone starts blowing up, and, like any normal person, I just don't look at the notification and, go to bed, right? Nah, I'm kidding. Um, I did not think it was going to happen. I did not think that Giannis Antetokounmpo would not be on the Bucks because it has been, what, 3 years or so that he's done this whole shtick of, man, I don't want to go, but like, if you're gonna do that, then man, I guess you're forcing my hand. And it kind of turned into a toxic relationship, and it gives me vibes at least of like being in a like relationship where it's like, man, I don't want to leave you, but like if you're gonna fold my clothes that way, then I guess I gotta look elsewhere. And it's just pointing at the smallest little thing and just blowing it completely out of proportion and making it seem like it's the end of the world. And that's kind of what that relationship turned into. Very toxic. Wasn't really salvageable, I don't think. Especially whenever he is, getting reported on, such as that he prefers to stay in Milwaukee but not with the Bucks. And you just get all of this like trivial stuff, and it's just like, all right, man, you want to leave. But I did not think that he actually was going to get traded, and I also didn't think it was going to be to the Miami Heat. Um, yeah, that is absolutely shocking, and I'm just going to read off what the Heat gave up for him, right? And the Heat, they're bringing in Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis, which I do think that people are forgetting about Bobby Portis in this, where it's like, yeah, Giannis is, he's the main guy here, but Bobby Portis is still a very solid NBA player. But in return for those two, the Heat gave up Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez, Jaquez Jr, the number 13 pick in this year's draft, first round picks in 2031 and 33, a pick swap in 2030, and a second round pick in 2033. Wow, that is a lot. A lot for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Again, Giannis, phenomenal player. I don't want to make it seem at all that he is not good or that he is not like someone who can be best in the world, because this guy in a quote unquote down year put up a measly 28 points and 10 rebounds with decent playmaking, with being 5 assists, and that's sarcasm, by the way. That's actually really good for a power forward. um Giannis Antetokounmpo is still one of the best players in the world. I mean, if you told me that he was on a better team, I could see the argument for him being best in the world. And I think that he definitely makes this Heat team a legitimate contender. Because this team won 43 games last year, and they didn't really have anybody on their roster outside of, Bam Adebayo, who I was like, yeah, he needs to be here long term. And, this might be the best front court in the league. If you think about it, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you have the second best scorer of all time in Bam Adebayo, right? You know, I mean that is scary. And for the Heat, I think that this package was better than what the Celtics had, in all, in my honest opinion, because I think that this really gives the Bucks what they wanted, which is where you get young players. In the case of Kel'el Ware, who is a young center, who, what, if you put more stock in his development and get him more minutes as a starting center, could be good. Jaquez Jr, right? At the end of the draft last year, a lot of GMs, they did their who do you think the player is the best, like, steal of the draft or whatever. A lot of people said Kasparis, right? You have your point guard of the future who you can develop, and you have the center of the future that you can develop. You also have the number 13 pick and the number 10 pick. So you have two picks where even if you strike out on one of them and you hit on another, that's another key player that you can use. You then also have 3 first-round picks, right? And then a second-round pick, which I don't care about the second-round pick. That's, you know, if you get a rotational player, that's great. But you're getting 3 first-round picks, a decent pick in this year's draft, a good role player, a 20-plus point per game scorer. You then get 2 young players who knows if they could be here long-term, and if you develop them properly and, help out with making sure long-term, that is a lot that the Bucks got. Because if you compare that to what their offer that they got from the Celtics, which was Jaylen Brown and 2 first-round picks, I much prefer this package, in all fairness. I also think that, for the Bucks, right, they're not going to be a bad team next year. They're not going to be good. They're not even, I don't know if they'll be 500, but they're not going to be this terrible team. Because you got Tyler Herro, which who knows what, I was going to say who knows, but we know Tyler Herro will take you to the play-in game as like a number one scoring option. Like that's just, how it's going to be. But then you also have Ryan Rollins, which who knows if that backcourt looks good. That's a decent backcourt in my opinion. I think that the forward position, a little bit weaker now, not a little bit actually, much weaker. But if you have Jaime Jaquez, what could he be being more important to scoring? Kasparis, what would he be as a more important point guard? Kel'el Ware, what would he be if he had more minutes? Like a lot of this, there's a lot of questions to be answered here. But I think that if there's any team that can answer them now, it's the Bucks because they have the room for these players to thrive and grow. And, for the Heat, I love their package more. I also think that this is just a much better fit for Giannis because I was not a fan of Giannis going to Boston, even with the, um, reinventing, but I don't think that he would have fit next to Jason Tatum, right? Giannis is a very interesting player where he's someone who needs the ball. Like, it doesn't work if you have a good point guard with him. And, I consider Giannis to be a point forward, where it's like you could play him at point guard at points because it's like, yeah, he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. He is the one who's commanding the offense. He's leading the offense. And, he doesn't play off ball very well. And that especially wouldn't work with the Boston Celtics, where it's like, okay, we're going to have Peyton Pritchard, right, which he's a pretty good point guard. Then you've got Jason Tatum, right? Like, if you think Jason Tatum and Giannis are going to coexist well, I don't think that would have been the case. So I think that it's just much better for Giannis. I also think it's much better for the Bucks because they get a better package. Like, I think realistically, I don't think the Celtics would have or should have been in this conversation, really. But, like, moving over to the Heat, right? I think it'll be interesting to see how they want to operate this, right? Because I have a feeling now they're going to bring back Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins. They're going to bring those two back. But this is a very good starting lineup if you think about it, because I believe you still have money available, even though you have Bam and Giannis, which those two combined isn't making as much money as you would have thought. Like you would expect, $100 million. Not really. It's closer to 90. So if you can get a good point guard, as well as also Pele Larson, does this help him out a little bit, right? He's a pretty decent player. He gets more run, who knows what happens. But then again, you also have Davion Mitchell. Like, the big conversation around the Heat is that they gave up so much of their depth. I don't think that's the case because they still have money to spend. Like, if you look at how much money some of these guys are making, yeah, sure, okay, 4 spots. But the Heat are historically known for just getting straight, like, ridiculous undrafted players and pulling them out of the hat like it's a rabbit or something and just, ooh, this is a guy that no one really wants. We'll take him. Oh, look at that. He's a 10-point per game scorer. Or in the case of, like, Caleb Martin, this guy's always solid. What if we make him, like, second in conference finals MVP voting? Like, they are historically known for getting the best out of their role players, and I think that, if there's any team where you can get away with doing that, it's one where you have Bam and Giannis. And, speaking of this Bam and Giannis fit, it's interesting. It's really interesting where, like, if you look at Giannis, right, again, he's a player who he wants the ball in his hands. He's someone who really wants to be the main creator and initiator of an offense. And you look at Bam Adebayo, right, this year, 20-point per game scorer, Mr. 83. And this is where you've kind of seen the going away from being the Bam, being the driver of the ball and doing all of that stuff. As he had 3 assists, 3.2 assists, and that was the lowest since 2022. And I think that now we're starting to see Bam being a lot better in the mid-range, which that'll help out spacing a ton. You also see him take a little bit more threes, not making them as much as you'd like, but still 32% three-point shooter, not terrible. And Bam isn't a bad shooter, just very inconsistent with it. But if he improves as a shooter, as well as there's going to be a lot more gravity going to the basket, because let's face it, Giannis Antetokounmpo, when he's going to the rim, dangerous. And you also factor in that he has good down-low help. And whenever Giannis thrives, he has a good defensive, streaky shooter, right? The last time that Giannis was truly competing for championships, Brook Lopez was a center. And Bam Adebayo is much, much, much better than Brook Lopez. And sure, he's not as good of a shooter as Brook Lopez. He's a better defender than Brook Lopez was at that time. Better playmaker, better scorer, better rebounder, better everything other than shooting the ball. And it's not like Bam's a bad shooter either. And I think that this fit, sure, it could get a little bit clunky at points, but also if there's anyone I would trust to figure it out, it would be, Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, right? Those two are notoriously known for getting players to fit next to each other when it looks like it might be a little bit awkward. Um, and I think that the way that the Heat operate is very successful. Um, it comes down to finding ways for your players to fit together and doing all of that type of nifty stuff. They are historically good at that. Like, this is a very well-run franchise, and I think that not only were you able to bring in a player who wanted to leave, but you also did it to where you're not completely gutting the team, I don't think. Like, I don't think this completely ruins the Heat as, the media and everything starts to report on it. Because if you think about it, and if you're truly trying to compete, do you think Tyler Herro helps you win a title? I don't think so. Kel'el Ware, sure, he's a fine backup option, but I don't know if you're winning a title with him. Actually, I do know. You're not. Jaime Jaquez, right? Sure, he was third and sixth man of the year voting. Look at what the sixth man of the year did in the playoffs, right? He was booty cheeks. So, I mean, I don't put much stock into that award. Because Spurs, right? They don't have time if they want to compete of developing a point guard and doing all that stuff. Number 13 pick, cool. But, also, we're known for getting diamonds in the rough, and we can just do that. And, I mean, I think that this, team is not, fully done with moves. They're going to make plenty more moves. But, also, if you think about it, you have, your center position, Bam and Bobby Portis. Perfectly good. Really good center position. Because Bobby Portis, good player, right? 14, 6, and 2. He is a good center or backup center option. That is perfectly adequate. And then you have Giannis and Nikola Jovic if you want to play those two at the 4. At the 3, you can put Andrew Wiggins. If you want, you can have Norman Powell be there as a backup option. You then could have, if you want to put more stock in the development of Trevor Keels, who knows? There are options that you can do here. Even if you have, Myron Gardner, right? He was pretty solid in his burn that he got as a player. This isn't a bad, depth team. At point guard, right? If you want to put, you can have a combination of Ja Young, Drew Smith, and Drew Smith actually is, improving a lot as a player. 6 points per game. He's improving a lot. But you get, Drew Smith, you have Davion Mitchell, Pele, Trevor Keels is mentioned, who maybe he could be something. But then you also have forwards of Wiggins, Powell. You have good players here. I mean, you have players who you have an all-star player who a few years ago was an all-star in Andrew Wiggins, last year's all-star in Norman Powell, and Powell put up 22 points per game last year. So, I mean, it's clear he still got something in the tank, and that was when he didn't have as much, I mean, it's not when he was on as good of a team and he was more of a focal point, and that worked, right? And you add Giannis Antetokounmpo to that, yeah, that'll work. Not to mention you also at forward have Keshad Johnson, which, yeah, he's improved a lot. I mean, he went from not really having any minutes, playing to where, yeah, he's getting more minutes and he's improving. The Heat are in a good position to truly compete here. I'm not going to say if they're going to beat the Knicks or not, because who knows if they play the Knicks. I mean, I don't think it matters. I think this team is a legitimate contender, and they gave up a lot for Giannis, but also that's what you got to do. If you want to go get a player of his caliber, and all things considered, they are in a good position to compete. That's all you can really ask for. And, again, with the Bucks side of this, if a player doesn't want to be here and you have no leverage and you get this level of return, that's very nice. But also, I view this more as the Heat just shedding some of the dead wood on the team and moving on. It seems to me as though whenever your bush is overgrown and you got to trim it to get it back to where where you want it, where it's yeah, everything's excess, but you don't need it to really be what you want it to be. Just get rid of it, and that's kind of what they were doing. I don't think that Jaime Jaquez is necessarily the guy of the future, right? Tyler Herro, sure, he's a fine player, but also you're not winning anything with him. And whenever Tyler Herro was out there, you didn't get as much out of Norman Powell as you had initially. Spurs, right? I mean, he was cool, but you don't have time to put all that into development. And yeah, I think Spurs can be a very, very good point guard. You don't have time for that, right? Jaime, he was cool and was good, but you don't have You know what I'm saying? You don't have time to waste whenever you have this window, or at least the window that you think you have of Bam and company, right? Now you have Bam and Giannis. Very, very good team. And if I was grading this from all angles, right, for the Bucks, I'd give this an A. I mean, you would have loved to have kept Giannis, but you got a very good return for him. And even if you miss one of the picks in the draft and you hit one, okay, cool, you still get another impact player. You have 2 good draft picks in this year's draft. You have 2 lottery picks. And then you also have Tyler Herro, 20-point per game scorer, Kel'el Ware, who could be your starting center of the future if you play your cards right. Jaime, who, again, if you play your cards right, could be a very solid forward. I mean, last year you put up 15 points per game. Who knows if you can take another leap on that? Kasparis, right? A point guard who a lot of people, including myself, thought he could be a very, very solid impact key cog of a championship possible team. You then get all the draft capital, right? I mean, this is a good return for Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, this is like an A. I love this for the Bucks. I love this so much more than what the Celtics return or the Celtics package was going to be, which I will grade this for the Celtics and talk about that a little bit. And then for the Heat, A. I mean, you got rid of people you thought was like excess of what you truly needed. You have financial flexibility here. I mean, this is a good team. You are back to competing for a championship. And I mean, I think that the fit between Bam and Giannis might be a little bit awkward, but if there's any people and there's any like coach that could figure it out, I think it's Eric Spoelstra, and he's done this before where you just turn players who knows what they could be into something special. And I think that the depth part, I'm just going to assume they're going to get good depth because that's what they've shown me over the past, that they can just turn absolute like okay players into good, very solid rotational players. I'm just going to assume that's going to happen. And then also, if there's anyone who can figure out how to make Bam and Giannis work, it's Eric Spoelstra. So I'm not too concerned about that. And you're back to competing, and that's exactly what you wanted, right? And sure, the picks, all of that, yeah, it's a lot, but also, who cares? A chance at a championship is something that, I'm willing to give up 3 first-round picks for. Like, if you were to tell me right now that the Bulls would be able to compete for like 3 years, I would give up a lot if I was the GM. I'd give up a lot for that to happen. So, I mean, I don't care about the first-round picks because the Knicks gave up how many and won a championship? Like, first-round picks are not I think the big misconception around first-round picks is that they are, like, solidified, that they are important and good. It's like the clip from Family Guy where it's, there's you have to choose between a boat and a mystery box. I'm taking the boat. Like, I'm not taking the mystery box because it could be a boat. I'm just going to take Giannis Antetokounmpo instead of a pick that could be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, that's my thought process where it's like, okay, sure, first-round picks, that's cool. They can also be busts, right? How many over the years have we seen where highly touted prospects suck? That happens. And it's unfortunate because you see teams waste opportunities, but it is a very real thing where you don't know if players can translate to the NBA. I would prefer to just take Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of the best players in the world. So, I mean, for the Heat, I think this is an A as well. You get both things that you wanted. And now we have to talk about the Boston Celtics. Yikes. I would say, just for not getting in on this, I would say this is an F. Because now all you've done is shown to Jaylen Brown that you don't value him, which I am known for being a Jaylen Brown. I don't want to say hater because I don't hate him. I don't hate, I don't know any of these guys. I don't hate them. I just think that Jaylen Brown is a very, when paired on this Celtics team, I don't want to say redundant because he still is very important. I mean, he won a finals MVP. But the way he conducted himself, the way that he approaches some things, and the way that his game hasn't evolved in the way that I would like personally, and now you've shown him that you don't value him very much, yeah, that is a little bit, concerning. You then also strike out on a superstar. You then really show that, you don't have it like you thought you did, where you're not able to just pull one over on the league and just get another superstar. And now you have to have a difficult conversation with the player who knows if he will record that conversation and put it up on his podcast or on his live stream. Obviously, I'm joking about that. I would be flabbergasted if that happens. But that's something you have to think about. where I don't want to say he's an erratic person. I don't want to say that he's like an irrational person because he's a very smart guy in Jaylen Brown. But he's made some things public that you don't want public. He's done some things that you don't want to be public. And I would be a little bit concerned about how he handles that conversation of, yes, I know we were trying to get rid of you after all you've done for this team, but why don't you just, stay? We'll be able to really build around you and Jason Tatum, and we'll be able to, figure this out. Like, that's going to be a tough conversation to be had. And I think that, I don't think that Jaylen Brown's going to handle that the best. I also don't think it's going to be the worst. I think it's just going to be indifferent. I think it's going to be a tough conversation. And like all tough conversations, there's good and bad parts about it. And, I think that if the Celtics are truly as set on trading Jaylen Brown as they, seem to be, I think Atlanta would be where he goes personally. But, very, very interesting trade here. Absolutely fantastic. And why is it that all trades are at like 11 o'clock, Shams? Why? I was getting ready to go to bed. And then I had to, like, oh my gosh, Giannis got traded. Like, dude. How many has it been now where it's like 11 o'clock? Because the Luka trade was at 11. This trade was at like 11. The Paul George trade was at like 11. I don't think the James Harden trade was at like 11. But we're kind of rambling a little bit here. And, this is a very, very interesting trade. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this trade, right? Whether or not you think the Bucks won or the Bucks lost, or if you think the Heat gave up way too much or gave up too little, or if you would have wanted the Boston Celtics to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo. Make sure to go ahead and like, subscribe. It's absolutely crucial to the channel, right? We're getting back to pumping out content. We're getting ready to, revamp everything and, improve and, up the production a little bit. And if you like the production, make sure to go ahead and like, subscribe. It's absolutely crucial to the channel. Once again, turn on the notification bell if you want to hear more about me and my, thoughts on, sports. We're getting ready to make some World Cup content coming out. Don't worry, haven't forgot about that. But this is the Scoop with Coop, and until next time, so long, everybody.